Everyone, this video is going to be about the week 4 journal assignment in LIB 101. All right, so there's a couple paragraphs here that provide some framework for the assignment and relate to religion and the importance of religion in our lives. So remember, this course is all about the big human questions and the things that guide human behavior and also just guide our lives for meaning and value and purpose. This week we read portions of Augustine's Confessions, and you've also engaged, hopefully, with some of these resources here that relate to religion and the importance of religion, both from the perspective of people who are theists, as well as a recognition of the importance of religion by people who might be atheist or agnostic. And in that case, they're trying to present another type of community and communion with each other that mimics religion, but that doesn't necessarily, of necessity, rely on God concepts and things to find meaning and purpose. I'll let you read through the first 2 paragraphs that set the framework for the paper. But the 3rd paragraph is where we get into the meat of and the heart of the assignment. So this journal explores the importance of religion for modern life. Imagine you're debating an atheist who believes we must base our lives only on what can be proven scientifically. If you believe that yourself, that's totally fine. You need to take up the position of the theist or of the religious person, just for the sake of argument. Now, this is a really important thing on a side note that you can do in papers. Sometimes the best thing to do when you're creating a thesis is not to create theses around the things that you already believe, but instead to create the opposite thesis or the opposing position. And then doing all your research with good, objective, academic sources in relation to supports for that position. And then that way you can learn more about the issue rather than just kind of reinforcing your own beliefs or arguing against something that you've already argued against before in your own mind and in your own thinking. But anyway, we're not trying to force anyone to become a religious theist here, but it's important for theists to be able to argue from an atheistic viewpoint and to be fair with those perspectives and vice versa, right? The problem is that many people aren't, and then we get in these shouting matches and yelling at each other, and atheists think that theists are stupid and or dumb, and then theists think that atheists are evil or whatever else, and there's these false dichotomies all over the place. So let's not do that. But anyway, what you're going to do is you're going to debate an atheist who believes that we must base our lives only on what can be proven scientifically and that God doesn't exist. So perhaps you believe this yourself. If so, take up the contrary position for the sake of argument. Write a 2 to 3 page style debate, again, opening statement in which you provide reasons to believe that science alone cannot provide everything that's necessary for living a good human life. And argue instead that religion, including mythology, art, ritual, etc., so religion broadly construed, is necessary even for those who do not believe in anything supernatural. For example, God, the afterlife, miracles, etc. And remember, there are religions that do not have a God concept. Even if you disagree with this idea, imagine the perspective of someone who agrees and try to make your argument as convincing as possible. Be sure to explain the difference between science and religion as you understand it. All right, so you need to make an argument for why religion is necessary for humans. Here's a couple things, though, as we go in. Many times, students will argue from a very specific religious context, mainly Christianity, although I have had some Muslim students argue from the position of Islam. While you can make reference to individual specific religions, your overarching goal here is to take on the view of all religions, right? So what you're arguing is not that Christianity is correct and that atheists need to become Christians, or that Islam is correct and atheists need to become Muslims. What you should be arguing for is that religion, broadly construed, is necessary for a holistic view of human life and a holistic view of the good life. And so you should be thinking more broadly, think more broadly than just one specific religion that you might be interested in. And I can often tell who's done the work here, who's read the articles, who's engaged with them, because these articles are not written from specific religious, specific forms of theology in specific religions. They're written from a very general view. So for example, one thing that religion gives to a lot of people is a place of community with people who have like-minded beliefs. Now, of course, there are always people who sneak in and do really perverse and horrible things. But in general, most people who are Christians or Muslims or Buddhists or whatever else, they try to ascribe to these principles. And often in those religions, many of the principles relate to things about respect, love, community, and all of these things. So religion itself historically has allowed for a very communal function for humanity. And, historically in the United States, a lot of our colonies were based around religions, to the point where people were meeting every day as a community, as a town, to come together at the services. And that was just an expected part of everyday life. And if you didn't attend that, then there were some big problems that you would face, including up to like banishment from the community or even worse. Now, we've since moved away from that, right? But not as much as people think. So there are plenty of people, millions of people in our own country who practice these things, right? They meet on a holy day during the week. They perhaps meet throughout the week with their fellow members of their congregations, whatever religion it might be. And they do things like community service within the church, right? Like they teach kids how to sing and play the piano and play instruments. They teach, they run like tutoring programs for kids. They provide after school care and daycare and all of these things. And that's an important thing to remember. And some people feel totally fragmented and alone in the world because they don't have that community, right? So maybe one thing that you mentioned is that religions offer a space for communal activity that we all need. We're all dying, right? We're on our phones and we're lonely and we're miserable. Now, those are some really big, hasty generalizations. Now, but at the same time, you don't need to ascribe to a specific religion in order to experience that community. So this is a debate, right? So present that other side. And there are actually atheistic and agnostic groups that meet together on a specific day. Now, they don't meet with obviously with any type of theological dogma or beliefs underneath it in the sense of religion, but they share time together. They try to make each other laugh. They sing together. And I forget what the name of it. I think it started in Atlanta, somewhere in the South. But just a group of people, many of them grew up in religious homes, but they have since kind of moved away from that religious belief. But they recognize the importance of like meeting with people and like sharing things and being able to say to somebody else like, hey, my life is really rough right now, or my child is sick. And having that outlet where other people have sick children or disabled kids and things, and you can have those conversations and you can support each other. And you don't need religion to do that, but you do need this communal space, right? I've gone on long enough on that example, I think, but it's one thing that I think that you could argue for. And if you read the articles here, you'll see that that's something that comes up. Okay, so anyway, you're supposed to, no matter what your belief, you're supposed to make an argument that a scientistic position or belief on life is not the most fully adequate position in order to fully be human. There's something else that's required: art, ritual, religion, mythology, and those things provide us with the opportunity to be more human and to experience the fullness of what it means to be human. So make that argument, whether or not you believe in it, and engage in this debate style. But remember, you shouldn't just be writing about what you know from a specific religion and then trying to impose that on people who don't ascribe to that. You should be thinking of the basic attributes of religion more broadly construed and what religions give to humans, because there are billions, a majority of humans that exist on Earth, actually. who ascribe to some form of religious belief, and there are common themes that undergird all religions.